So, everybody, thank you so much for having me. My name is Melanie, and I am here on behalf of Replay Art Week. A couple of people have been like, "I've heard of you." Is that true?
Yeah, Gail's been promoting
This
it.
is great. I feel really excited about that. So I was just here to kind of share what we're up to and how you can get involved if you want, and what we can do for you, because basically, crafters are our target audience, and we are here because we are crafters. Jamie and I are crafters ourselves, and we have a lot of the same problems that crafters do, which is too much yarn, yeah, and realize that there is a real need for something like this in the Upper Valley, where people can actually kind of move their supplies around. We don't have to buy new yarn all the time. Everybody has yarn. Everybody needs yarn. There just needs to be an infrastructure. So I brought a presentation that has some pictures and stuff, and I'll talk a little bit, but also I just want to make this a conversation, and we can just, anybody has questions or comments, like,
I have one already.
Great, yeah.
What if you come in with a pattern and you need a certain number of, cakes or balls or whatever? How
Great.
does that work?
So that's a great question. If we have it, you can have it, and if we don't, then we don't.
That's probably silly to try and do that.
Yeah,
with a sweater.
Well, here's the thing, it's a little more of an organic model than a store.
Yeah.
And we are kind of really interested in how that opens up for everyone for creativity.
Gotcha.
Like, I've had to be very creative in the things that I have been doing, because it's based on what we have, and it's based on what we have, right?
Right.
So, we've really been thinking about how can we let the materials inspire us.
Okay.
And really be thinking about it that way. So, so we are,
I'm sorry. I should have said thank you, first of all. Thank you, because these are the folks that gave us this whole big box of fiber fill and a lot of that material. So thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. That's what we do. So, I'll give you kind of the lowdown. So we are a creative reuse arts organization, and we launched, it's been about a year. We actually started in October and then officially launched in January 23. So it'll be a year on January 1st. Jamie is my other half. We are partners, and we are both arts educators first and foremost. We met when we worked together at the Whitney Museum in New York, and she ran family programs and I ran school programs, and then I moved into adult programs, and she moved up here. Knowing that I was always going to move here. My husband grew up here. He's like, as soon as our kids in middle school, we're out of the city, we're coming here. Here we are. Pandemic hastened that a little bit, but we're really glad to be here. This has been a place that he's always wanted to get back to, and I've always been excited to come live in. So here we are. And Jamie and I have been kicking this idea around since about 2005. Wow. She was here working at the Hood. And really thinking that, hey Mel, when you do move to Hanover, what are we gonna do? And really thinking about, and we weren't thinking about it in terms of what do we want to do, we were really thinking about it in terms of what does the community need? What can we do as arts professionals to really serve the arts and crafts community of the Upper Valley? So she kind of had her ear to the ground, and she was like, hey, there's no creative reuse up here. And we didn't invent this, for the record. This is a thing that exists in lots of other places. And we just kind of brought the idea here. So I'll tell you a little bit about it. So why reuse? We don't really need to know. We all know that reuse is important. These are just some facts and figures that I thought were a little shocking. More plastic waste is produced in the United States than anywhere else. Twice as much as China, and more than all the countries in Europe combined. And the average family throws away about 6 trees worth of paper a year. Wow. So that kind of shocked me a little bit. I was like, wow, there's so much paper going into recycling, into the landfill, and really just thinking about how can these are things we can make things with, right? We don't need to throw this away. We can use this creatively. So what is creative reuse? Creative reuse is different than recycling. We're not a recycling organization. We're not a thrift store. But really, creative reuse is rethinking, repurposing, and reimagining these materials to give them a new function or a new life. So anything, we all know as crafters, right? Anything can be turned into art. So how can we take these things that people are getting rid of, not using, and turn them into something creative? So discarded materials, we take the discarded materials that people have, don't want, and we offer them back to the public for low or no cost. So all of our materials are available to everyone for suggested donation. So if you wanted to come to Replay and you wanted some yarn, we're not gonna say, we're kind of like listen and cover for art supplies, but the big difference is that we're not gonna say this costs $5. We're gonna say, you can make a suggested donation of $5. If you'd like to donate, whatever you would like to donate is fine, and if you just wanna take it, that's also fine too. Because what was really important to us is that art be accessible.
Yeah.
If there's there's so many teachers who are spending their personal money to buy stuff for their classroom, right? I'm not gonna price that for them, I want them to take it, right? And also, by the same token, if someone would like to donate to the organization, you can do whatever you want, and that's fine too. So just making this available to people at whatever level is accessible for them. We wanna make sure that everybody has access to all the supplies. So teachers and community organizations get whatever they want. Anybody else can pretty much have whatever they want too, and we'll take donations for it, but that is up to you, right? What is this yarn worth to you? I'm not gonna tell you how much that it's worth. So we're really trying this like pay what you wish model as opposed to pricing like listen or cover, just to make sure that everybody is able to have all the stuff that they need. And I brought some images just for funsies. These are works from museums. These are artists in the hood. Do you want to look at them? This is just kind of like made out of recycled materials, just to kind of expand our ideas about what can be done with recycled materials. So this is an artist. His name is Elias Sume. He has a piece at the hood. It isn't this piece, but it's similar to this. And when you look at this, can everybody see? Am I blocking you?
No, you're perfect. You don't need that.
Okay,
That's good.
great.
I don't know if it's good for you.
So when you look at this, what do you notice? What is it?
Looks like a map.
Yeah,
Looks
that's
like a
okay.
map.
It looks like a map, right? Why? Can you tell me a little more about that?
Well, there's streets and
Yeah.
whatever,
And water and,
main thoroughfares
Mhm.
and off thoroughfare, little streets.
Okay, so we
and
see some.
special areas that are in gray.
Nice, I like that. So we see some areas that are blue, which remind us of water, right? We see some kind of bigger places that could be main thoroughfares, or it could be rivers, we don't know exactly, right? And then there's this kind of grid system, which reminds us of road. You said special areas or something?
Yeah.
So there's some parts that are like
Like
marked
parks.
out, right? So it
Parks
could
or-
be,
Yeah.
again, we don't know exactly what it is, but it reminds us of a map for sure, right? Any other thoughts about this?
Is it a
It's not
face?
map.
Okay, tell me more.
I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's so obvious that it could be a map. I feel like it's not a map.
Okay, so.
Is it is it a face?
So, and again, this isn't.
Oh, no, I see where you're going.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was my first
A face?
impression, was it was a face.
Ooh, I love this. Now that I'm looking at it,
Yeah,
I'm
I
actually
can see
seeing
where
something
you're
that
going,
looks
yeah.
like a human form. Gail, tell us more about where you see a face.
I'm trying. That's where I'm. It's kind of not there yet.
Here, okay.
It reminds me of looking at those 3D pictures when we were kids, and I just couldn't quite see
Oh,
them.
the-
Yeah.
Or a
Whether
horse
it's a
head
witch or a
something.
beautiful lady.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So I like looking at this because everybody sees something different, right? This is abstraction. So, and what I like about it is that everybody comes at it and it's like, oh, it's a map. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a person. Maybe it's a horse. It's all of these things that kind of are like necessary parts of society, but we can't quite put our finger on it. So he is an artist. He's from, here's a close-up.
Oh.
Oh, look at that.
Now what do you notice, now that we're looking closely?
Mosaic.
Looks like tiles.
It looks like tile. Do I have
Yep,
that
it
close-up?
does.
Oh, no, I don't, actually. So, and it's a little bright. Do you mind if I turn this light off for a second?
Go ahead.
So as we look more closely, we notice that it's not a painting, that it actually is something like a mosaic,
And it's on tiles.
and it's on different
Bigger tiles.
tiles. So we see there's kind of some large, can you see my cursor? Can you see that when I move it around? Yeah. So we see this edge here, right, is like a large piece of tile. And then there's something on the surface. And
Yeah.
if you look really closely, which we can't do in here because it's too bright, I'll just tell you, these are computer keys.
Is that
From a
right?
keyboard.
Oh, my
Computer what?
God.
And this is
Oh,
the wire from the motherboard.
oh.
So what it's amazing, isn't it? So what he has done, can you see it now that I've pointed it out?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
it were darker, I apologize, but So what he does, so he is from Ethiopia. He goes to the Mercado, which is a large open air market where many countries dump their electronic waste in Africa, right? And then people kind of pick through it. Actually, these children, unfortunately, go to the e-waste dump, pull the e-waste out, and then bring it back to the market and sell it at this market. So this artist goes to the open air market. He buys the electronic waste that doesn't actually have a function anymore because these are not salvageable for their intended purpose. And then he turns them into unbelievable artworks. And he's actually asking us to consider all of these things, to consider humankind, to consider animals, to consider maps, to consider landforms, to think about the world and nature and the environment and our part in it. And that's why all of these things that you said it reminded you of are a part of this object, right? But his way of making it is something that we never would have even considered. Now that I show you this thing, it looks entirely different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that
Amazing.
now that you
Isn't that
know
amazing?
more, do you think are you thinking differently about it? Or do you have any new thoughts or ideas?
In terms of what?
I don't
What
know.
it is?
I don't know, just in general.
I'm curious.
Like what does it plant in your head?
Well, I'm just curious about the points.
Yeah.
Because the chips are little squares, so are this on the gray areas?
Oh, that's interesting. These points?
Yeah, they're little the things that are, oh, I see.
Yeah, it looks like he cuts them up.
Cut them up.
Right. So again, he has a vision of the image, what the image is going to be. He takes the materials that he has access to, and then he transforms the materials to kind of execute this vision to make a real political, environmental, social statement, not
So-
just through his object, but through his choice of materials.
So it's really a 3D, three-dimensional sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, this looks like it's paper and the background where the wires and stuff are, that it's just flat paper, but it's not, it's really wires.
It's dimensional. So it
Yeah.
hangs on a wall like a painting,
Yeah.
but it would be almost like a mosaic or a relief.
Yeah. Well, interesting.
It's very, so he has a piece at the hood. It's not always on view, but it's there sometimes. And now that you know, next time you see it, you'll look a little more
Yeah.
closely
Well,
because
probably if you're in front of it, wouldn't you know it was, you could look at it and
Yeah.
say,
if you're right there in front of it. I wonder if I have no, this is a different one. This is another one that's at the hood that I wanted to show you as well, which is similar. Have you seen this one? So this is a different artist who works in a similar vein. And again, this is at the hood. I don't know if it's on view currently, but it's there fairly often.
I've seen it more than once over the years,
Yeah.
but it's been a lot of years.
And what's your, can you tell us about what it looks like in real life or how it's different than this? It's large, right?
It's really big.
Yeah.
And
So it's kind of
I seem to remember it being shiny in
Yeah.
some parts. And
so
Is it paper?
this is an object that is made, again, it's large, it's undulating, it's shiny, it looks like a tapestry or a fabric or a curtain. And what this is it is the rings from the top of liquor bottles.
oh.
Really?
That's a lot of liquor.
It's a lot of liquor. It's a lot of liquor. So you can see there it is actually, there it is actually in the
I
hood.
was thinking about that.
And
Unbelievable.
I'm wondering,
Wow.
and here's another one that he has done. So here's an artist who's actually taking these, again, things that are destined for the landfill, and really transforming them through artistic means to kind of make a statement
Amazing.
and really make incredible objects. And I wonder, this may or may not, no, I don't have Wi-Fi in here. There's a really great video that I can share with Gail if anybody wants to watch it on Art 21 about his process. And it's so incredible to watch the way he actually kind of sorts all these materials, categorizes them, and then really uses something that we would consider trash, like the rest of us would use paint or yarn, and it just becomes an art making material.
Wow.
So this was kind of, artists like this were kind of our inspiration because it's not just about, I mean, yes, knit, we love to knit, we love to crochet, we love to make clothes, all of these things, but also this idea of taking this material and really thinking, what else can I do and how else can I use this creatively? So that was kind of our inspiration for starting Replay. Any other questions about these artists or their artwork before? Yeah.
Kathy, one before this one.
Which one?
When you were showing us that.
This?
No, the one,
This?
that.
Yes.
There was something on the news recently though, or one of the programs on TV, that the folks that are salvaging this stuff and making it available, a lot of them are getting hurt.
Sick.
Oh,
Cancer.
sick.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
the
These
tools
kids-
they're using to break the stuff
awful.
down,
No,
they're
it's a
cutting
mess.
their feet,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it's,
No, this is heart-wrenching actually what's happening because there are children who are working in these e-waste dumps and it's a toxic environment.
Yeah.
And you can, I mean, this kid's in there without shoes, right? Just kind of
So,
like mucking around in sludge.
the upside is someone's making art out of it, the downside is, look what we've set them up
I
to do to get to that.
That's a bigger problem. That is a much bigger problem. No,
Sorry
it's
about
really,
the downer part, but it just.
no, it's real and it's actually, I like to show this just to ask us to kind of think twice before we throw something out, right? Because, we have, we have an old computer and it's easy enough to get someone to take it away, but then what happens to it? So, I mean, I feel like everybody in the Upper Valley is like, fix it until it isn't fixable anymore. That's just kind of the ethos around here anyway, which I appreciate. But I feel like one of the things that I am really doing now that I'm working in the creative reuse field is really, really, really being extra thoughtful. Like, is there anything else I can do with this? Not just keep or recycle, but how can I repurpose, right? And how can I turn this into something else?
So
So
you
that's what
also
we're,
have to think about those kids that, if you said, oh, you can't do that anymore, and you take it away from those kids. Well, they're doing something with it that they can make money. I
Right.
mean, they can
Right.
take home to
Right.
get some food for their family or, I don't know, a school book
I
or
know.
some,
I know.
And so, it's sort of like, well, yeah, but is there a way to like let them do it and make it safer maybe?
that would be,
I don't-
that would be the
yeah.
best, right?
Yeah.
To be able
Yeah.
to get
But you
have
wanna have
the
money to
revenue
do
from
that.
it
Mhm.
without being,
Yeah.
Masks
Exactly,
and gloves
but-
and shoes.
yeah, without
you
being
can't just
exposed to
take
the
it away
toxins.
from 'em.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, these are bigger geopolitical issues than we can attack
Right.
through art. But I do think that the purpose of art is to like ask people to think or feel something they didn't think or feel before they saw it, right? So I feel like that's the power of art. So I just like to kind of show those images and share those things that people are doing with reuse. So just to inspire. So back to replay. So our mission is to foster creativity, sustainability, and community through reuse in the arts. So our goal is to just take all these materials that are usable for art making, and instead of having them end up in the landfill, to make them available to the community in whatever way they can. So what we do, this is our vision. It's fine, but I'll just tell you, this is our official vision. It's on our website. And really thinking about how we can help people have meaningful interactions through these activities. Also really think about improving the environment for future generations. Just this idea of actually becoming a community where we rethink the way we look at materials, right? It's not just about recycle bin, trash bin,
Yeah.
keep it. How can we turn it into something beautiful? And also, we really care about programming. So we want all people to have opportunities to kind of find their inner artists. We're doing a lot of programs with schools, a lot of programs with places. We're doing a program at the Haven, and really bringing these materials to kids, to adults who feel like making and learning, and really using our arts education background to be like, hey, look, we have 300 poster tubes. What can we build? And really thinking about it in this way. So our mission is kind of twofold, which is, first of all, we want everyone to have access to the supplies that they need. But the other part of it is to have arts education available to everyone in a fun environment using these materials. And then also benefits to all of you who have too much yarn in your basement. We are happy to take it off your hands and put it to good use. So what we've been doing lately is collecting materials. This is our storage unit as of April.
Where are you?
Great question. So we have been for the past year operating out of a tiny office in White River Junction. We're in White River Junction. We've been operating out of a tiny office on Railroad Row, like across from the courthouse. There's those office buildings. We have a tiny office that's much smaller than this room where we do our
Oh
typing,
my.
write our grants. And then we have a storage unit over by the cover store, which then became 2 storage units because people were really excited to give us stuff. And I'm happy to report that this morning I signed a lease for a storefront starting on Friday, which has been our dream, and we didn't expect it to be able to happen nearly as quickly as it did, but the Upper Valley has so much stuff, and they're so happy to give it to us. So we have been just like totally thrilled and overwhelmed by the response from the community. And we thought we were gonna have a storefront in 3 years, and it turns out it only took a year, and we are gonna paint it in December and hope to have it open starting in January.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, but, so how did, you're getting this stuff that you can maybe get some money for, but you're giving it away and stuff. But who's supporting that? Who's gonna pay
No,
the
that's a
rent?
great question. So the
Right.
reason we have an office is because I'm writing grants like crazy.
Okay.
So
all
Jamie
right,
and I are both
good,
nonprofit
good.
administrators as well.
Okay.
all right.
So we
That
have been writing grants, we've been soliciting donations from the public, and people are actually really generous. When people have been taking things,
Yeah.
we say pay what you wish, and people have been like, oh, this is a great idea, I want to support. So I actually think we're probably generating as much revenue from the stuff as we would if we actually priced it and sold it, just because people are really happy about
Good.
the idea. So our revenue streams are, we have grants, we have individual donations. We just sent out an individual giving letter and got a lot of really good feedback. And we have been selling stuff for pay what you wish. So those 3 revenue streams together have been supporting us so far. And here's the other thing, our expenses are not that high because everything is donated.
Yeah.
So we aren't taking a salary yet, but I hope to soon. That would be really
Yeah.
nice. And we've gotten 2 grants already, and we have 3 more that are out. So I'm really hopeful that as this kind of continues, we can keep writing more grants, getting more funding, and really be able to expand and keep up with
Who
ourselves.
do you write a grant to for this?
That's a great question. So we got one from the Vermont Arts Council. Yeah, no, these
I'm sorry, I
are
didn't steal it.
these are great questions. The one we got was from Vermont Arts Council.
Okay.
There's also New Hampshire Community Arts something, that's not due yet, so it's like in the back of my mind, not the front. And then the other ones we wrote one to the Ben and Jerry's Foundation, we wrote one to the Mescalima Bank Foundation. And there's a lot of different foundations that support the arts, support sustainability, and support community building.
Okay.
So that's the typing part of the job. That's the not fun part of the job, but it's the important part of the job. So I've been doing a lot of that in the office and then sorting a lot of art supplies in the storage unit, which has no heat, so I can't wait to get out of there. It was fine in the summer and it's not fine anymore. And our next, so lately we've been having, the way we've been getting rid of stuff is we've been having swap, drop, and shop community events. So we have kind of set up shop at First Friday in White River. We have been at the Lebanon Farmers Market because we didn't have a space. And we would just bring a bunch of stuff and put it out there. And we told people like, hey, we're having this event, and people would come and bring us stuff, and then they would take stuff, and it was like a big
Swap meet.
yeah, it was just like a big swap meet. And it was great. We got rid of so much stuff. We got so much new stuff, and people were so excited. Our first customer was 7 years old, and he was so delighted. And he was like, I can really have this? And I was like, yeah, you could really have that. And he just started telling me all the things he was gonna make. So, and I was so happy. And then he ran away, and then he came back, and he gave me $1. And he was like, Mom says give you this. And I was like, thank you, sir, my first customer. And it was just so nice to see like the joy on his face. He was so excited about this thing. And it's so, we're being really, we're trying to be organic about it. I'm trying not to micromanage, like, this is what we are looking for. Because I am continually shocked at how delighted people are at the weirdest things. I got an email last week that was like, hi, my family and I have been saving our pistachio shells for 3 years. We have a 33-gallon trash bag full of pistachio shells that we thought we were gonna use for crafting. Can you use them? And I was like, maybe. And then I thought about it, and I emailed one of my connections who I've made here through Replay, who's a teacher. And I said, hey, do you have any interest in 33 gallons of pistachio shells? And she was like, yes, that would be incredible. And I was like, okay, like if this is what happens, we're just trying to create the ecosystem for the crafters to find their stuff and get rid of their stuff and make it all circulate. So we're not trying, that was a real learning curve for me. I was like, oh, I was about to say, no, thank you, we don't take pistachio shells, but of course somebody wants them. We just don't know who. So we're really trying to keep
Did they
it.
say what they'd use them for, like stuffing things or something?
You know what, no, that's a great question. So she teaches, she's a teacher, and she's always, the reason I thought of her is because she's a very, she teaches little kids sensory-based art classes.
Okay.
Oh,
So there's gonna be a lot of, they do a lot of sensory play, but they also do a lot of, gluing lots of things. And she had told me, she's like, if you ever have like anything and you have a lot of it, I wanna build with it with my students. So, I'm super curious as to what she's gonna make. And then,
Yeah.
I was talking to my husband, I was like, should I take 33 gallons of pistachio shells? He's like, oh yeah, you can make butterflies. I was like, oh yeah, of course we can make butterflies out of them. He's like, yeah, that's like 2 wings and a pipe cleaner, it's gonna be great. I was like, okay, you're right. And some of the best things have happened from our students. So we do these events, we work with the Special Needs Support Center, we're working with the Haven, we're connecting with WISE. The libraries, we've been thinking about like maybe doing some programming there. And some of the schools have reached out to us as well. So to just bring a whole bunch of interesting materials into a classroom and really let the kids kind of experiment and explore, it's so different than the art they often get, which is very skill-based, right? So we really just want to encourage everyone to think creatively.
I can
So
see how kids would be really good at that.
they're so good at
They're
that. They're
so
so much
good.
better than we are, which is why
Yeah.
I'm just like, you just bring the cool stuff and then they
Figure it
just
out.
make amazing
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So
so do you take things like toilet paper tubes and
this is the big,
cardboard and
the
pill
big
bottles?
toilet paper tubes are the big problem, I have to say, because, and this is something that I still am working to figure out, because of course you can use toilet paper tubes for art. That being said, how many toilet paper tubes can I store? And
Exactly.
also there's an unlimited supply. The
Yeah.
other thing is that I am really been thinking about a lot is toilet paper tubes are recyclable.
Mhm.
And the last thing I want to do is take something that is recyclable and glue rhinestones to it and make it not recyclable,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So we
That's
are,
an interesting.
it's an interesting quandary and a challenge. So we're working really hard to kind of like find the sweet spot between 33 gallons of pistachio shells and all the toilet paper rolls. So we actually just put a moratorium on toilet paper rolls because at first we were like, yeah, of course. And then I was like, oh, we actually have way too many already. So,
Another thing,
so
pill
pill-
bottles.
pill bottles are tricky because medical waste, we had to put like a no medical waste. So the two things, and there's a list on our website. That
Okay.
being said, I do feel like pill bottles would probably be fine, but there's like a part of me that is like, okay, we can't just collect pill bottles and not know what's in them, and
Right.
then maybe there's a pill in them and then I bring it to a school. Like it just seems too,
I hear you.
it seems too dicey to me. So, the things we don't take medical waste, we don't take like food packaging, anything like that. And there's a list on our website, and we don't take anything that is, mildewed, stored in mothballs, or has been stored outside, because, you know, you would get one mildewy piece of fabric in there, and then it's like one bad apple ruins the whole bunch. So on our website, we have like a very comprehensive list that is always changing of what we do take and what we don't take. And it's a learning curve for us as well, right? And also some things are a gray area, like the pistachio shells. Technically, we shouldn't, but also we'll make an exception because they're amazing and somebody wants them. And I think it's like, it's not actually food, it's kind of like, almost like wood. Anyway, there's a lot of gray areas and we have to make a judgment call.
Yeah.
But, so these are some workshops that we did. We went to this first one with me, looking really weird. It was at Mascoma High School, and we went for their health and wellness fair, and we did a journal making workshop with recycled paper. This was a mosaic workshop that we did at, oh, that's Jamie, by the way, this was my business partner. This was a mosaic workshop that we did at Craft Studies, and Craft Studies has been an incredible partner. Until we have a studio space, they have been letting us use their studio, and we've been supplying their classes with materials, and we actually, when we were starting, we worked really closely with them to be like, okay, we're gonna be neighbors, we should work together, what can we don't wanna do what you're doing, we wanna do what you need too. So we've actually kind of built our model so that we could support each other, and it's been really great. So a lot of their work